All right, good afternoon, New Bedford Guide followers. We're going to have a fun Saturday with Uncle Turtleboy today, covering a book that he has written, I Am Turtleboy. Most people know Turtleboy Sports from Facebook. Big following, but has been getting censored a lot lately and having a lot of issues on social media. I've always said he's the most loved or hated blog on the internet in New England is Turtleboy Sports. You either love it or you hate it. There's like no in between of that. So welcome, Uncle Turtleboy, to New Bedford Guide's show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we've talked off and on over the years, and looked at your book, started reading it, and gone through the first 9 chapters. So that's what we're going to go over today. Yeah, it's good so far. It's you were a teacher, so it's
that's right.
And that's what people don't understand is so you wrote and you edited this yourself.
That's correct. That's why there's so many mistakes. Probably.
I haven't found too many.
There's a couple in there.
Yeah. But let's talk a couple of things. So what is Turtleboy Sports?
Well, it's a blog that, in its current form, it exists to report news and kind of do it in a different kind of way that's never been done before, like in a humorous way, and expose problems in society with the goal of not just shaming people, but of fixing problems. And that's a big part of what the book gets into is that we could shame people that are doing bad things all day long. But if we're not, correcting behavior and improving society, what's the point of all this? So that's, in a nutshell, it wasn't designed to do this. It was supposed to talk about sports, believe it or not. And if you go back to some of our earlier blogs, they're all about sports. And then that kind of died out because nobody wants to read about sports, believe it or not. And people want to watch the world burn. They want to see things that make them realize that they're really not doing so bad at life.
It's kind of like WEI, who doesn't really do sports in the morning. They just kind of talk Trump and everything, whatever hot from the day before. There's only
so many sports takes you can have, right? Like, how many times can you talk about the Bruins' fourth line or the Patriots, is Tom Brady's contract or whatever, right? People get bored with that. And let's be honest, it's a topic that appeals mainly to a male audience, right? So if you're doing that, you're closing out your market very much so. And that's a saturated market. Like you said, WEI, 98.5, the Sports Hub, there's 1,000,001 places you can read about the Red Sox. People would have no reason to come to us for that. They want to come to us because we have original content that no one else has.
So if you have any questions, just post them in the comments. I see a bunch of comments already. We got Carlos Felix posting Situation. Amanda Thompson, try to get him to do all caps voice. I don't know if
yeah, we can do that.
All right, so yeah. Oi, oi, Uncle Turtleboy, Laura. So we got some people posting already in there. Post your questions if you got them. Let us know and we'll do what he does on his thing, where you're repping from. Where
you're repping.
Yeah, so it's always good stuff. So post where you're watching the show from and share this, okay? Share it and get it out there so we can get this thing out there. So we'll get some terms out of the way. So we know what Turtleboy is. It's a sports, not a sports blog, start off, but it is a blog out there. Mm-hmm. What's a Turtle Rider?
A Turtle Rider is a loyal follower of Turtleboy Sports, and they come in many shapes and sizes. They're mostly attractive, like 99% would definitely be considered physically attractive, much higher percent than the normal, general public. So we pride ourselves in that. They're generally funny, witty. And that's what I like about the blog is that sometimes the comments from Turtle Riders are better than the blogs themselves occasionally, and they've almost become their own little sideshow. And the book kind of explains how the blog grew because of Turtle Riders, right? Like people like Brett. Everybody knows Brett at this point.
Everyone's had an argument with Brett online, probably. I have.
Yes. Oh, there you go. I'm sure he was really appropriate too.
Yeah.
Margaret Mellican with her beautiful poetry, and there's just been almost like a lot of side characters that have developed in the comments, and that's what I love about it. I love our fans. I think we have the best fans ever assembled in one spot.
So let's talk the big thing. So I remember when you were going, you grew pretty fast, but you went from like 40,000 to like 60,000, and I was like, he's going to have like 1 million followers, by the end of 2020, and then suddenly you got taken down.
Yeah, it was going well, Our problems with Facebook began before, we invented Facebook problems. It's all in the news now with conservatives being censored by Facebook. It's like, where have you been? This has been happening to us since the beginning of time. And since early 2016 was the first time we ever got suspended. It was because somebody had threatened us, right? And I don't forget, it was in the comments or whatever. We took a screenshot of it, put it up on the Facebook page, And then we got in trouble. Like, we got suspended for posting a picture of their threats to us, which made no sense at all. And then we started getting 30-day bans. It was only like a day at first, and then it was 3, then 7. Then it turned into 30.
You're talking a personal account, right?
No, the Turtleboy Sports page. Yeah,
okay.
And every time we got a 30-day ban, it sucked because you can't grow that way organically, because that's the way most people who are fans of the blog first found us on Facebook. It's just the reality of it all. Facebook, whether or not we like it, they can call themselves a private platform all they want. They are the public square. They are where everyone's at. Right? So if you're not on there, that is where information's being stored. That's where it's being spread. That's where conflicting ideas are being shared, and that's a beautiful thing. It should remain uncensored. So we kept getting these 30-day bans, and then finally we got a lawyer, and we sent a demand letter to Facebook, and we heard back from them. Basically my lawyer said they haven't violated any rules, because that's the thing. Things we're being taken down for weren't violations of anything. You might not like us, but the fact is we're not violating the rules.
But it's more of, you talk about in the book, it's more of the internet mobs reporting.
Right. People have quickly figured out how to censor you. And there was one guy in particular named Kevin Lynch, who is probably our greatest foe of all time. And Kevin didn't want to shovel his sidewalk one time, so we blogged about it. And next thing you know, he lost his mind, and he just started reporting our page. Now, Kevin, he has nothing to do, I guess, all day, and I'm fine with Kevin now. But he would just literally sit there. He admitted to us 3 hours a day he would dedicate to just reporting it for pornography, hate speech, whatever, just over and over again. And eventually it triggers some sort of algorithm with Facebook, and you get taken down. And that sucks when that happens. So we would just create backup pages and build those up during suspensions until finally, I want to say going into 2017, we probably had 30,000 followers. And then I started bringing on all these new writers who really had a lot of talent, right? Like South Shore Turtle Girl, she's from down here. And she really kind of built an audience that it was a Worcester-centric audience first. And then she moved it, and we got a really big audience down here. And then I hired 2 girls from the northern part of the state, North Shore Turtle Bay, we call them, and Merrimack Valley Turtle Bay. And they really started building audiences up there. And next thing you know, we're adding 2,000 or 3,000 people a week. And it was just growing exponentially. Before you know it, boom, 100,000 by October of 2017. And the rate we were going at, if we had kept going at that rate, right now we'd be at about 250,000. And I could picture us being at 1 million within 2 or 3 years.
What was the count when you actually got turned the page?
112,000.
112,000.
On November 28th, 2017, just boom out of nowhere. We are taken down because our profile picture was an image of a Norman Rockwell painting with the turtle imposed on the turkey. And that was like a Thanksgiving picture theme. And it said that was, I forget what it said that violated some type of term and condition they had. And next thing you know, boom, we're gone. So, okay, obviously it sucked. I figured we'd try to get it back. And I thought we would get it back because it's obviously a mistake.
At that point, you were unpublished?
Yes, that page was unpublished. But we could still see it on our end. And we could appeal it. I appealed it. And we get a message back from Facebook telling us we haven't violated their terms of service, but they're still keeping us down because it could be considered offensive, even though they admit in the thing. Now, any lawyer would tell you, and my lawyer said the same thing. Well,
that's that Norman Rockwell where he puts the turtle on. They're putting the turtle on.
Yes, that's right.
It's like the Thanksgiving thing.
Yep.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people kind of changed their profile pictures to that in solidarity. Turtle riders are hardcore like that. So we had a backup page called The Lost Boys of Turtle, and it had 30,000 followers already. So we thought, okay, we'll just broadcast from that for now. We do a live show that weekend. Boom, the live show itself gets taken down twice. And then that page gets banned. And then there was Turtleboy Refugees after that. And then there was Turtleboy, Fallout Shelter. We've had 32 pages, some of which have been taken down 5 or 6 times and brought back because we figured out how to get them back. If people report you 1,000 times, right, and it gets taken down, we figure, let's just appeal it 1,000 times. And so I would have Secretary Turtle, we call her. She would just literally hundreds of times a day just hit appeal, 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 appeal. Boom, we get the page back within hours. So we've kind of learned how to.
And you have 2. I see there's 2 pages now. There's Turtleboy Sports Returns, Turtleboy Sports Forever.
Yes, and those exist because Kevin Lynch has. We had Kevin on our show over the summer. He was arrested again for something, and we had him on with Brett, and the two of them went at it and swore at each other. And I kind of came in like Trump, like Nobel, like Korean style, like North Korean style. Came in there and negotiated one of the greatest peace treaties of our time, in which Kevin agreed to stop reporting our page, and in return, Brett agreed that he would stop threatening to sexually assault his niece, which never happened, but in Kevin's mind it did. So all you have to do is just tell him you're not going to do something that you weren't doing already, and boom, all of our problems have gone away. Kevin Lynch is the most powerful man on Facebook. He has the ability to take that. If you mess with him, he will destroy your livelihood.
So I've heard, there's a lot of rumors of how it got taken down. He's the one who got you unpublished?
Yes, he led the charge. A lot of people think it was Didi Delgado. I'm not sure how familiar you are with Didi, but Didi has quite a scam going in Boston. She runs a reparations page every week. She's built this army of woke white women from across the country and convinced them that due to historical injustices, they owe her money. And so every Friday she has Reparations Friday, and she tells white women, you must pay X amount of dollars, and you must announce almost like as a receipt in the comments that you have donated. And meanwhile, Dee Dee's like raising $12,000 she raised in one GoFundMe for a new car, and she's going on like exotic vacations. And it's like, so we expose her, and next thing you know, her army of woke white women start reporting us. So it was kind of like a combination of her and Kevin, but they forgot about us after a while. Dee Dee's people did. Kevin never forgets. And Kevin just was the reason that we kept coming down, and finally we negotiated a peace treaty with him, and our problems have only exist on Twitter now, where we are permanently banned.
So the marketing's working, people asking how to get the hoodies. I'm going to post a link in there in a minute.
You can get the hoodies. We have a tab right on top of our website that says shop. You can just go right on there, one-stop shopping.
Yep, and we'll post a link as well. We do have the link to the book, so you can get it on Amazon, you can get it on Kindle, or you can get a hard copy and have the book here. So let's go over a couple more questions, and I'll go with some of the comments people send in here. So, the obvious question is, do you think free speech is dead on Facebook?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Free speech is dead in more than just Facebook. That's kind of like what the purpose of the book is that free speech is a big myth in this country. It's not free. It costs money, which is why we need people to buy books and buy sweatshirts and stuff like that, because without it, what they do now is they come after you in several ways, right? You have a job and you have an opinion, but if you say that opinion publicly, they'll come after your job, and you need your job to eat and pay your bills and stuff like that. And so if you have to pick one or the other, then you're not really free, are you? And so that's one way they do it. And with us, they come after us in several ways. Not only with Facebook, of course, there's no free speech on Facebook. Absolutely not. And you've seen some of that. We got taken down for. I changed our profile picture to. We got taken down on Christmas Day last year for saying peace, love, and happiness to all. And I was taken down for sexual violence. So no, of course, there's no free speech on Facebook.
Yeah, if you were to play "Baby It's Cold Outside" right now, you'd be taken down.
No, that too. The reason we would write stuff like that is to prove that no one's actually reviewing anything at Facebook. A lot of people think it's politically motivated, and I kind of disagree with that. I think what's happening is that people are just mass reporting like Kevin Lynch was. Now, I think it seems like it's an attack on conservatives, because I think liberals are more likely to do what Kevin Lynch is doing, to mass report, whereas conservatives love a good argument, right? They love to call you libtard or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, go to the Breitbart comment section. It's just a big cesspool of people calling each other names, whatever. But liberals don't like that. They want to report you and deplatform you. That's the big difference between them. Conservatives are very vicious, but they're more thick-skinned, whereas liberals just want to silence you altogether, and that's unfortunate, because that's the exact opposite of what liberalism is. Liberalism is supposed to be the champion of free speech.
Yeah, I think I read there's a quote in your book, though, that the dirty secret for some moderate liberals is that they follow Turtleboy Sports.
We have tons of liberals that follow Turtleboy Sports. I hear it all the time, and that's why they like it, is because we are not really. I understand the blog leans right, and its followers, our followers lean right, but it's not what we're about, and we don't really talk about politics that often. It's a blog about free speech, and if conservatives are the champions of free speech, then that's sad. You know, it shouldn't be that way. Free speech should be something that all people accept in this country. You know, it's a shame that it's come to this. And the book is about not only like Facebook censorship, but about other ways that we've tried to be censored. Like, for instance, lawsuits are a way to censor you, right? Like Michael Gaffney tried to silence us by creating this frivolous lawsuit and dragging this out. And his goal is to be such a pain in the butt that we just stop blogging about him and stuff like that. And we've been sued a bunch of times, undefeated, by the way, in court. But it is a hassle, when it happens. Or the boycotts, that's another way. When they say boycott, they don't really mean boycott.
No, because anyone could just stop shopping somewhere.
Right. Like Rosa Parks boycotted the bus by not riding it. If Rosa Parks was woke today, what she would do is organize on Twitter an army to harass the Montgomery bus system and call them every day and just say, we're not coming there, or hanging up the phone on them or whatever, just calling them, pranking them, just being a pain in the butt. That's what these people do now, is they call you and be like, I'm not coming there. I would love it, by the way, when they did it too. We had a couple defense attorneys on there, like they do serious crimes, murders, DUIs, stuff. Rapes, you name it, and these people would call them up and say, I'm not doing business with you. It's like, well, you're not supposed to do business with Tony Salerno unless you murder someone. It's like, and if you do murder someone and you need a good lawyer and you don't pick that lawyer because of a blog, you deserve to rot in a cell.
So one of the quotes on here, let me see if I can find it here. Jose Raposo, life's biggest fear is to be a story on Turtleboy.
I mean,
and that's one of the reasons I think you read the book is why you kind of do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like that and I kind of don't, right? Because I don't want people to fear Turtleboy. I don't like that when people are like kind of.
You've taken down blogs.
Yeah, we're decent people, right? We take down blogs all the time. Like we took down a blog last week about a dermatologist who parked in a handicap spot in Providence, right? Because he apologized. I mean, he was sincere in his apology. He made a mistake, and we don't want to ruin your life. That's not what we're about. But at the same time, that kind of fear that he's talking about, if that can get people to, like, honestly, like, if they're thinking about doing something bad, if they're thinking about committing a crime, if they're thinking about, going out and getting high one more time, and they're like, you know what?
How's this going to look on Turtleboy?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's not worth it. And if that's like the deterrent that improves, and we get messages from people all the time telling us, like, I am clean today because of my fear of being on Turtleboy. Like, Detox couldn't do it, support groups couldn't do it. Turtleboy did it. He scared me.
So let's talk, you're talking about these boycotts, right? So
yeah.
Having your page taken down, how's that affected you financially?
Oh, it's been really, really bad. So, I mean, I wish I could be positive about this and be like, yeah, screw you, we're winning. I got to be honest. Turtleboy's honest, right? It's been a huge hit, right? Because we would make our money off of clicks, on views, right? Because ad impressions and stuff like that. That was our primary business model. And without Facebook, I think we were going from, we would get about 100,000 people a day on the site. And that quickly went down to, like, our first month, December of last year, to like 45,000 in a month. And then we've been slowly improving it, now. I think it's up to about probably 60 or 70,000 every day on Turtleboy now, which fills Gillette Stadium when you think about it. It's still a decent crowd size, but percentage-wise, you're losing a good chunk of your revenue there. Now, you couple that with Google AdSense, who is even worse than Facebook and Twitter. Google AdSense has a monopoly on digital advertising in this country, and they're the ones that put the ads, on your site. They're the third party essentially. If they blacklist you, if you get on their list, you're screwed. So we're making X amount of money with them per impression, right? And now all of a sudden we get blacklisted by Google AdSense, and we're making a quarter of that. So I mean, you do the math. The hit has been substantial, which is why it's important for people to buy the books, buy the clothing and stuff like that, because that's just the way the world operates now. Like, if you want something to continue to exist, you got to support it, NPR style.
Yeah, and I was saying that we talked earlier that it seems like radio doesn't know what to do with you. You have your own show. I think it's
on the Pike, yeah, 100.1.
But you've had a chance to almost work with other radio stations, and it kind of comes to the end until the producer kind of nixes it.
Yeah, WAAF was one. Greg Hill loves Turtleboy. He's a huge Turtle rider. Him and I are buddies, but I think and Danielle liked the blog too, even though she was good friends with Lee Genduso. Got a little awkward there. The state, remember her, the state trooper?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But the producer Rob, who's not even there anymore, put the kibosh on that because he didn't like the blog. And so he's ultimately in charge, and so that was the end of that. There have been close ones. I've been on and on with Baxton O'Brien in Western Mass, and Howie Carr is going to have like a partnership with us, and we're still tight with Howie and Steve Robinson over there. They do great work, but the CEO kind of stepped in at the last minute, and it's like, let's hold up on this.
Go back into the financial part. I remember you did a podcast. I think he was a black conservative.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Right?
Yeah, I love that guy, Mark Lutchman.
Yeah, and he actually was talking about. He actually had a pretty good staff and was making good money, right?
He's the only one that's had a worse situation than us.
I haven't heard it worse than him. And then he was a waiter, right? After at the end of it.
He is now. Yeah, he works at a diner. You know, he's 24-year-old single dad, right? He's in the he's in the National Guard. He's like everything America should be about, and he's got this website called thelutchmanreport.com. And what makes his situation worse than mine was not only was his page with 300,000 followers taken down, you can't even put a link to his website on Facebook. Okay, you can't even send it in Messenger. You'll get a code that says like, this is dangerous, blah, blah, blah. So if that happened to us, that would be a disaster. If Turtleboysports.com links could not be shared at all on Facebook, we would have to really, really reconsider how we wouldn't die. We refuse to give up, but that would be the biggest hit possible.
Yeah, I heard that. And that seems to be happening more and more. And it does happen to some progressive sites. I've seen that happen as well. But
yeah, there's a big purge.
But Apple, like the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook just came out. So he took down Judge Report's app. And then he says that hate doesn't belong.
Did you see that speech?
Which one?
The speech he gave last week. And
I heard the excerpts, and he just says that, they become the judge of what's hate speech.
Yeah, they're like, we will not allow hate on our platform. First of all...
But hate can be what you don't agree with.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Define hate? Yeah. That's a completely objective term. And on top of that, iTunes has plenty of rap music filled with lyrics with racial slurs, stuff that's demeaning towards women. I mean, are you going to get rid of all 90s rap music? Because that's all it was growing up, was stuff like that's like demeaning towards women. But but they're against neo-Nazis though. They just want to. That's a very brave stance they're taking. I was wondering what their stance on neo-Nazis were. Turns out they're anti, which is obviously really going on a limb there. Very brave of them. And what was scary about it was that everybody clapped. Everybody clapped. Like, this is fantastic. Censorship is good. We have become a society where we cheer on censorship simply because we like the people who are being censored. And they have no vision, and they don't understand. What if someday the pendulum turns, and the conservatives control the platform, and you're the one being silenced? Are you going to cheer about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, the book. Let's go through some of the chapters.
Let's do it.
So chapter 1 is free speech and democracy.
Yeah, kind of an overview.
We'll cover one. It's a few pages. It's not that big. But the biggest thing I got out of that was the internet mobs.
Yeah.
Right. So David Hogg, Sean King.
Yeah.
Tell about those stories.
Yeah. I mean, David Hogg, when he turned his mob on Laura Ingraham after first of all, the two of them got in some sort of Twitter beef, and then he announced that he didn't get into UCLA, and she tweeted out, and she was like, well, the UCLA is very hard to get into. It wasn't even insulting. It was just like, well, it's hard to get into UCLA. And he plays the victim, because that kid was a kid when he wanted to be a kid, and he was an adult when he was talking about policy and taking away your guns, he was a conservative, right? When he was criticized by other adults, all of a sudden he played the kid card. And he said, oh, this woman's picking on me, I'm a kid, let's boycott Fox News advertisers. And they would just call them up and just harass them. They got a bunch of people to quit.
It's not a boycott again. A boycott is I'm going to stop buying at Home Depot.
Yeah.
But if you call Home Depot every minute of every day.
Do you think he was buying a lot of plywood at Home Depot before that? Yeah. No, then you can't boycott a place you've never been to.
Yeah. And then Sean King, obviously, he's got a big followership, and he tweets out a lot of fake stories.
Oh, all the time.
He tweets out a lot of accurate ones, but the fake ones is what causes the damage.
Yes.
Right?
So. There was a police officer in Texas who was falsely accused by a woman of rape. And it turned out the body cam footage was released like a week later. But by that point, Sean King and his 1.1 million followers were convinced, because he gave out his name, people found his address, and it turns out the guy was completely innocent.
But he has a blue check mark.
No, yeah, not only does he not lose his platform, he still gets the coveted blue check mark because Twitter verifies his importance. All
right, so chapter 2 is probably the most surprising to people, right? So they don't realize that this is a teacher who runs Turtleboy Sports, right? So you started off at the Fanning Learning Center, and
Yeah.
that what I got out of that is it's kind of where the worst of the kids got sent to?
It's like, the public schools in Worcester are tough. Like, I went to the public schools in the South. There's a lot of dingleberries there, and they interrupt the learning process for other students. And some behaviors cannot be corrected. That's just who they are at this point. And so the Fanning building exists to kind of warehouse the worst kids that are destroying everyone else's opportunity to learn in other schools. And so each school, each secondary school, there's 10 of them in Worcester, get to pick their 10 hand-picked worst students and send them to me and everyone else over the Fanning building. And learning was out of the question. Our goal every day was just to get them to do maybe 15 minutes of work in class. Don't fight. Come to school 80% of the time, maybe. And kids would just not come for weeks at a time, and then they show up a month later, and you'd be like, where you been? And they'd be like, yo, dog, I've been in lockup, son. Okay, well, I guess we just pick up where we left off. There was no homework. There was no books. They called me Mr. Aiden. They called all the other teachers that because they didn't want to know our last names. And every day kids would come in and say, yo, Mr. Aiden, you're mad whack, son. It's mad brick in here, dog. And I didn't know what any of this meant. I learned like a whole new vocabulary working there. It was really, it was a culturally enriching experience.
But you had, I think you said in the book, a lot of the students and the parents were on Turtleboy Sports as a blog.
Oh, all
right?
the time. The most famous of which, like, I want to say 8 or 9 months ago, there was a really disturbing incident in the Worcester Walmart parking lot in which a man and a woman were filming a 2-year-old child being sexually assaulted in the parking lot of Walmart, right? And they were putting the videos up on the dark web. Yep. And I had the girl in class, and it's like every time I see one of my former students, I call it the Courthouse Records alumni newsletter. Like, that's what I know what they're up to, is they're always getting arrested for something or whatever.
So then, after that, you paid your dues and you worked at Shepherd Hill.
Yeah, and so Shepherd Hill is a regional school, Dudley Charlton. It's a Division I school. They're kind of well known in the Worcester County area. And I was excited to work there. You know, I had put in my dues at a fake school essentially for 2 years, but I wanted to teach kids, right? I had a passion for history. I had a master's in history. I was ready to rock. And so I went there, and it was completely different, obviously, because it's like a real school. And you have kids that actually respect authority, not all of them, but the vast majority respect authority, and they have parents that care about them, and they're not coming, the kids at Fanning were coming from terrible, terrible situations. Like, they had no shot. Their lives were predetermined, unfortunately, before. You work at a place like Fanning, and you become more liberal because you're like, America really isn't equal. Like, it's like we're not really all born equal. These kids were born with no shot in life whatsoever. And so I understand where liberals come from in that regard. But, you work at a school like Shepherd Hill, and it's a regular all-American school, but with a lot of underlying issues that were kind of like explained in the book.
Yeah, that's popular for a lot of teacher sex scandals, right?
Oh, yes, and it's been in the news. The Amber Jennings one is the most famous in like 2004. She's hot, though, wicked hot. And I got there right after her, and one of the questions asked her in my interview was like, what if a student wanted to sleep with you? What would you do? And it's like, well, I would say no. I didn't know, is that the right answer? I'm assuming is that a trick? And so, but it's just kind of funny that you have to be asked that this day and age because, unfortunately, and there's been a couple since then that are kind of like detailed in the book.
So there's one sentence that pretty much, I think, describes your, pretty much that chapter, which is winners are motivated by failure. Mm-hmm. So explain that, because it kind of shows how some of the teachers came in, got hit in the face with an F that they used to get an A, and either turned one direction or the other, right?
Yeah,
they either
exactly.
So talk about that.
Yeah, so failure separates winners from losers, right? I was a tough teacher. Right, because I wanted to prepare you for college. I wanted to prepare these kids for college. A lot of kids didn't know how to write, they weren't ready, whatever. And this is the MCAS generation. They've been taking multiple choice tests. They don't know how to write. It's amazing. You've seen it on any comment board on Facebook. Nobody can write in this country, all right? How many times have you seen somebody spell the word lose, loose? If I see that one more time, my head's going to explode. And so my goal was to get them to learn, but I had to give you a bad grade if you did not earn it. I'm not going to, this isn't socialism. If you don't earn something, I'm not going to give it to you, all right? Whereas in the past, they had been given those things. So first test of the year, first quiz of the year, whatever, a lot of kids bomb it, right? And I was used to that. And I knew that they would, as the year went on, they'd improve because they'd figure out how to adapt to what I wanted. And that's how you become a winner, is you take failure, right? You take that first 40 that you get on the first quiz, and you ask yourself, there's two ways you can go with this. I had two kind of students.
Abby and Connie, right?
Yes, exactly. And they those were made-up names, but they were real experiences, right? What I called the other girl Abby, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Abby, the Abbies of the world would go on there, and they would say, Mr. Carney's not fair. They'd go to their guidance counselor. They'd complain, I want to get a new teacher. And then, I would have to go down to the main office and explain myself or whatever. And then they go to mom, and mom would act as a lawyer because that's what mom's done her entire life, is just bail her out, whatever. And then there's the Connies of the world, right? And she failed, and she's like, this isn't me. I'm not a failure. I can do this. I can overcome this. I just have to figure out what this man wants and give it to him. And and as a result, she became a much more well-rounded student, a better writer, and those are skills that, she's a cop, or she's trying to become a cop. I think she just finished her degree at Worcester State College. But these are kids that, it's up to you to figure out, what do I want to be? And if I have to fail you to motivate you, and it's the same with Turtleboy. If the blog has to shame you in order for you to turn your life around, then so be it. And it's happened a lot.
So we'll mention one name before we move on to the next chapter.
Shoot.
Mary Perangeli.
Perangeli. Worst boss ever.
Yeah. So that was principal, right?
Yeah.
So explain her style.
So her style was, I was there for 9 years, and she never once came into my classroom, which was a shame because I was proud of my craft. I was proud of the work I did as a teacher. I put a lot of time and thought into my lesson plans and all that stuff. And she never came in. And the only thing she knew about me and other teachers were when students went down to complain, right? And that's the unfortunate philosophy of administrators these days, is that the teachers that create the most noise by holding kids to a higher standards are labeled as problems. Whereas the teachers that just give every kid an A, but ultimately you're not getting anything out of that if you're a kid, those are the good teachers. Mm-hmm. And that's an unfortunate part of public education today, at least when you have a bad administrator. Administrators do not have to be like that. She was just lazy, and she was destined to try to get me out of there. Ultimately, I wouldn't say she succeeded because I quit, but she was really trying to build up a case to get me out of there.
All right, so we'll talk chapter 3.
Yeah.
Aiden from Worcester.
Yep.
So why'd you start that?
Because I talked a lot on Facebook about sports and stuff like that, and I had opinions. And one day we were talking over Christmas dinner, and my brother's like, why don't you just start a blog, because you're giving all this traffic to Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg's making money every time you post on there.
Let's talk the first story, the Edelman. So
thank you. I forgot about that.
So you posted, you told us about Edelman. He was in a club, and he got accused of groping a girl.
Yeah,
you posted your opinion.
There was an allegation of grab ass by Edelman, and I think I posted my opinion on Facebook, and I said, I don't know about this story. It doesn't smell right, something to that extent. And because of that, I was called down to the main office, and I had to because somebody had complained as part of the district's social media policy, somebody had complained and said, well, this is offensive to me. Because I don't know, feminists or what, I don't know who that would offend, but it was offensive. And so I had to go down there and explain myself with that. And I'm like, okay, well, how about I just start a blog, instead? And I see what happens with that. And that's where Aiden from Worcester came from.
And the Edelman thing was 2011.
Yep.
So the first big story that you covered on your Aiden from Worcester was 2013 marathon.
The marathon, yes.
So your brother ran it?
Yes, my brother ran it, yeah.
And you ran it twice?
I ran it in 2012 and 2007.
So your brother ran it, you kind of ran along the side to kind of motivate him?
Yeah, I met him at mile 21 at the top of Heartbreak Hill, because I know what it's like to be at the top. It sucks. And, I wanted to pump him up and run him in, and I did that. And I kind of recorded the whole thing and videotaped it. And afterwards, he showered. Luckily, he's fast, so we finished an hour and a half before the bombings. And he had time to go and shower at a friend's place in the Back Bay. And then we went and ate food at the Prudential Center Food Court, which overlooks mile 26 on Boylston Street. I heard the first bomb go off. And I immediately thought, that sounds like a bomb or some type of a gas explosion or something. And nobody else really moved. People weren't fazed by it. But the second bomb took place right outside of mile 26, and you could see the flash and the smoke, and it was insane. I went outside to see what the hell was going on. It was just mass chaos, bodies everywhere. It was terrible. And I come back inside the food court. The whole place is overturned. All the employees abandoned There are restaurants in there. It was like The Walking Dead. It was insane. That's the only way I can describe it. I went home, blogged about my experience, kind of put the videos out there, and the blog got like 5 or 6 times more views than any blog previously. And that's when I realized, I'm like, yeah, sports is only going to go so far. That's the kind of content people want, stuff you can't get anywhere else.
But the one that got you in trouble was the Manhunt blog, the burial for terrorist number 1.
Oh, yes. So terrorist number 1, I call him Timon and Jafar. Timon was run over by his idiot brother Jafar, and they needed a place to bury the idiot brother. And so nobody wanted to take him in. Nobody wanted to bury him. But you got to bury the dead. What else are you going to do? They got to go somewhere. You can't just throw them in the street. This isn't, Somalia. You can't just leave people there. And so they decide that this guy in Worcester is willing to take him in, Peter Steffen, who buries the destitute. That's what he does. He buries prostitutes and people of no means. He's a really nice guy. He does great work over there. And so news gets out about this, and all these morons start showing up with their signs. You got to Google some of the pictures of these people out there. Like, nobody has any teeth. Like, no, not in our city. Get the terrorists out of here, America. All this stuff. And it's like, the bugs are going to eat him. You're going to put him in the ground, and bugs are going to eat him. Like, that's how we die. Like, do you really care if that takes place in Dedham or Cambridge or Worcester? Does it really matter? Like, what do you want? Throw them in the ocean? Then you'll complain that we're polluting the ocean. What do you want us to do? And so, I wrote about it, and people like that take because they're like, yes, that's what people are thinking. Because they're like, look at these morons, And one of the people that we exposed in there was a woman who interviewed with the Telegram and Gazette. Her name was Jennifer. And we found out that Jennifer was a lady of the night, if you will, in Maine South previously, and now lived in Northbridge. And we talked about it, and we made fun of these people because they deserve to be made fun of. And next thing you know, I'm called down about it because Jennifer Garvey found the blog, and she called, and Mary Perangeli, I got a note in my thing, Mr. Carney, will you please come and see me during your prep period today at 10:42. So I go down there, and so we've gotten a call from this woman who is very upset that you are cyber bullying her. Please explain yourself. Explain myself, free speech. That's how I explain myself. I'm voicing my opinion, whether or not this woman likes it. And that's when I found out I couldn't have these opinions. And eventually, I end up getting the Aiden from Worcester ended because I was given a 5-day unpaid suspension because I wrote a blog about Richie Incognito bullying, allegedly, Jonathan Martin on the Dolphins. And my take was simply 300-pound men cannot be bullied by other 300-pound men.
It's an NFL player for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, you're an NFL player. You're 24 years old. Give me a break. And I was told that this opinion ran contrary to school policy on bullying. Therefore, kids wouldn't feel comfortable coming to me with bullying issues, which is patently absurd. But what are you going to do? They're like 5 days unpaid, and the union wanted to fight it. We had a good lawyer. But in the meantime, I was going to have to serve it and take a huge financial hit. And so when they offered me a plea deal of 3 days, I took it. But I also agreed to take the blog down and never do it again. And so that was the end of Aiden from Worcester.
So I'll read 2 quotes from the book, then it'll lead into the actual Turtle Boy as a blog. So I realized that free speech was a myth in this country, and then which is, I think, pretty much describes Turtle Boy in itself is, in order for democracy to flourish, you must be able to discuss all things, including controversial ones.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the beauty of America.
So this led from, Aiden from Worcester was basically a professional teacher, be able to blog, separating from your Facebook page.
Yep.
That didn't work out because you got a 5-day suspension.
Yep.
So that led to Turtle Boy to be anonymous.
There really is no separation. That's one thing I realized. Like, you are a teacher at all times. If you are a cop, you are a cop 24/7.
Sure, you can look at Facebook at how many cops get suspended nowadays for saying one word, like
something
saying a few
controversial.
things.
Teachers, you are always on the clock. You're not always being paid, but you're always on the clock.
And to be fair, that's left and right. I know an EMS guy, I think it was in Massachusetts, might have been outside, who got suspended for saying that if he shows up to a scene and is a Trump supporter, he's not going to treat him, or you'll die in my ambulance.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a little different because that's like literally saying,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do my job.
Yeah.
Whereas otherwise, you're just expressing an opinion.
Yep. So, social media get you in trouble no matter what profession, especially if you have a boss like her, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
She's not going to protect you.
There's no personality, ultra social justice, garbage, nonsense. And it's just everything that she hated me and I hated her. It was a mutual hatred, but she's the boss.
So let me see if I can get this exactly right and define Turtle Boy in 2 points, which is to be anonymous at first, not today,
Yeah.
and to allow others
Well,
to
it's
write.
still anonymous. Yeah, I mean, all of my bloggers are still anonymous. They're doing most
You're
of the
not,
work.
but they are.
Yes, that's
And then
correct.
to allow others to write. So you're
That's
allowing
correct.
basically people who, like you were, like a teacher or a fireman, to be able to blog as some turtle name, right?
Yep.
Whether it's called South Shore Turtle
Yeah.
or whatever.
If you are permanent, if you like actually are a steady contributor, then yeah, you get a name. We give you a name, you get login access. Others have written blogs and just submitted them, via email or via Facebook or whatever, and we'll publish them under the name Turtleboy. Just that, so they'll have the headline Turtleboy. The rest will have the, their actual, the name that we've given them.
If you got questions, throw them in the comments. There's a lot of comments, not a lot of questions, but we'll get to those.
What do people say? Anything good?
Oh, yeah, pretty much good. Saying this is Turtleboy Unmasked and those kind of things. Not saying that. Someone was asking what this is, and they said,
Yeah. Uncle Turtleboy, yeah.
Turtleboy coming
yeah.
out party.
Yeah, Turtleboy's a brand, whereas if you write under the name Turtleboy, we give you a nom de plume of some sort of turtle, and you can kind of speak your piece, and no one's ever I'll never, ever reveal who any of these people are. I've been deposed before and been asked, what are the names? I don't know.
Well, so some teasers. You have to buy the book to get it. We're not
Yeah.
going to tell you a couple of names that could have been. There was 2 names, I think, in the book that
Brian?
we won't tell you
Oh,
what
yeah.
we won't tell you the names on the website, but in how Turtleboy came about, who actually, why it is called Turtleboy. You have to buy the book to get that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk the first big blog. Margaret, was it Pesikoff?
Pesikoff.
Yeah. So let's
Yeah.
talk about that. She went on video and did a 10 things I hate about Worcester.
That's right. Yep, you
So
got it.
how did that go?
It went very well for the blog because I was getting a few hundred people a day tops. So next thing you know, this really pretentious Canton woman, she talks like this in a white girl voice, and she's like totally done like Worcester because they have like hearts on the signs. Like, what even is that? Okay, and she was like really didn't like Worcester, but she was only here because she had a job at Hanover Insurance. So yeah, we did a thing on that. She was so obnoxious.
I thought the funniest one was that because of Worcester, her friends were an hour away.
Right, that was funny. Yeah,
it's
can you
Worcester's
like
fault.
believe it? It's like so far, like it's like over 45 minutes
Each way.
Each way, okay.
Yeah.
It's problematic, and so yeah, she was so obnoxious, and everyone in Worcester was talking about this video.
And she put herself out there.
Yeah, on YouTube.
You didn't go find her
I
and
don't
make her
think
record, right?
she was not thinking about the size of the internet when she did that. She was just thinking like, I'm going to make fun of Worcester a little bit, and my friends will watch this and we'll have a giggle or whatever. But it turned into much more than that because Turtleboy found it, and we put it up on the blog, and next thing you know, it's got 25,000 views. And obviously, it wasn't even mean to her, but it was just like making fun of her stupid voice and stuff like that. But a lot of people consider that mean, what we're doing. It's like, no, we're responding to something that's mean. This woman is just crapping on where we live, even if it's in jest. So we're going to crap on her back in jest, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's how this works. We're equal. And so that kind of built a bigger following up, but it was still really localized and small.
And that didn't cause a big problem as the DMV story did.
No, the DMV story was very controversial because I went to the DMV and I drove through the ghetto in Maine South.
In Worcester, right?
Yep, and I couldn't believe it. On noon on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, whatever it was, all these people just standing there not working. And it's like, when you go through the nice parts of Worcester, you don't see people chilling.
To include a pregnant woman smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, that's what I actually saw at the DMV itself. You get there, it's greeted by, like, literally, like, gonna pop any moment now. Just ripping butts. And it's like, have you no shame? What the hell? You're doing this in front of all these people and you think nothing wrong with it. And so, I took a picture of it and I put it up on the blog with all the other stuff. And that blog was very controversial because a lot of these social justice people in Worcester said, oh, he's picking on poor people. They're picking on, people of color, even though like 60% of the people in the blog were white. And it's like, well, no, it's like, no, all we're doing is commenting on things that we all see. What the hell's wrong with that?
And the stories people relate to. But then the story that made you guys really big was Busgate.
Busgate, right. Because there was another viral video out of Worcester in the hood that these idiot parents, they tried to get their kids off the bus before the kindergartners. The kindergartners are supposed to get off first. But you don't know that. All you see is a video that starts with the bus driver not letting kids on a bus. And these parents are yelling at their kids saying, baby, and the kids are screaming and crying, and the parents are escalating. You would think this bus driver was pure evil if you did not know the whole story, which no one did because it's a viral YouTube video. And so I find out the whole story, and by the way, they raid the bus. They punch the bus driver in the face, like Blair Witch style, and it's just...
Tell the kids to jump out the window.
Yeah, tell them to jump out the windows, emergency exit. It was insane. And so we write about it, and everyone was talking about this video, so we blog about it, of course. And we find out that a lot of these people were like threatening, and they're level 3 sex offenders, and they're just completely ratchet people. Everyone picking up their kids was wearing their pajamas. It was just so ratchet. And I just looked at that, I'm like, I'm not disgusted by the bus driver. I'm sure she had a reason to do what she was doing, because you're not going to convince me this woman's evil. She's doing her job. And you people acted like animals. And so, yeah, that's what I think. And that's what we're going to say. And there's nothing wrong with saying the things that so many people are thinking, which obviously turned out to be true because the blog was resonated. And it was like, I think 56,000 people read it in one day. It was by far a new record. And we went from, I think, 700 or 800 followers on Facebook to like 4,000 in one day. And next thing you know, it was off.
So now we'll talk to the story that actually got Turtleboy taken down for 2 weeks.
Oh, Buffalo.
Which is Buffalo, right? So this is something that you guys take a trip to Buffalo because the Patriots so awesome, and they beat the Bills so much. You like to go there and play with the Bills fans.
Exactly.
So talk about
it's such a cool environment. Like, I've been to New York. I've been to all these other places. There's nothing like Buffalo because they actually go to games there. It's not like Miami. Like, no matter how bad they are, and they're bad frequently, people will still go to the games, and they love the Bills. And the game they look forward to all year is the Patriots game, even though they know they're probably going to get, like, murdered. And it's such a gritty, blue-collar, politically incorrect city. Like, political correctness has never hit Buffalo. They say words that you're not allowed to say in Massachusetts, and they'll say it to your face. Really sexually, explosive words that I don't want to repeat right now. But I love that. I thrive off of that. I love that because we win, and they hate us. And I love football, and I love the Patriots. And so, yeah, we're going to go there. We're going to have a great time. And then, so I'm like, but you know what? I want other people to see this because I want other people to understand what Buffalo's like. So, yeah. So I go up there, and we videotape ourselves in the parking lot, tailgating, and Bills fans tipping me over in a porta potty when I go in there. And I love that. I love that kind of back and forth. And so we go into the stadium, and we're taping them, calling us, the F word and all these other words. And every time we score, we're loud about it, and they throw crap at us. And so finally, I turned around. Like, every time they would throw stuff at us and, like, swear or whatever, I'd be like, give them this sign, like, F off, And that allegedly, like, doing this, like, come on.
But that 2 seconds affected everything.
Oh, that was it. Like, going like this, that changed everything.
From Turtleboy going down.
Is there something wrong with that? Have you seen anyone do that before?
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you consider that sexually?
Not what they accuse you of.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's emotion to be like, screw off, And so, I go home, blog it, throw all these videos up there, and the blog goes viral in Buffalo, but not really in Worcester, because they're like, who is this douchebag that came up here and, like, provoked us into saying all these things?
Showed the underbelly of Buffalo.
Yeah, like, they're being mean to us and blah, blah, blah. First of all, it's all in good fun. At least own who you are. You're the Savages of the NFL. Own it. You're Bills Mafia. Stop acting like this is a wine and crumpets crowd, please. You should be proud of this, okay? And so, but they win. This guy, James Krieger, he runs a blog up there, and he's like a local town drunk idiot, and he's determined to find out who Turtleboy is. And he writes a blog outing one of my friends who, his name's Brian, and because Brian actually was in one of the videos, and he just throws darts at a board and says, let's say Brian's Turtleboy. And they put Brian's information out there. Everybody calls Brian's work, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, Brian contacts them and is like, it really wasn't me. And they're like, so they want to find out who it is. And they do some more digging. And they came to the conclusion it was me. It's kind of complicated how they reach this conclusion. And it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It proves nothing. But you don't have to prove anything on the internet. You can just make a claim, whatever. Now, I didn't mind. If you want to say that I'm the face of Turtleboy, I could care less if you do that, right? But what I didn't like was the twist they put on it. Like, and this is how we got all the attention, was by saying, teacher comes up here and sexually harasses girl. And that girl is 21 at first. Next thing you know, she's 19. I think she's 13 today. Every day she gets a day younger, it seems. And they said, oh, he was masturbating on the crowd and he sexually assaulted a girl. It's like, what? No rational person would ever believe that, because it's like, so this guy sexually assaulted a girl in front of 60,000 people. No one got it on tape. No one did anything. He wasn't arrested. He wasn't kicked out of the game. Nothing. Oh, yeah, that sounds really believable. But morons believed it. Why? Because they wanted to. Because you're a Patriots fan. You're a douchebag.
But it resulted in letters to your house.
Right. Well, so it starts blowing up.
They did find out who you were and where you lived, right?
Yes, of course. And once they do that, they got you. And so once they found out I was a teacher, that was like extra juicy too. They're like, it couldn't possibly be any better for them. And so I'm waiting in school that Monday, and I'm getting CC'd on all these emails to the principal and the superintendent, and complaints about you hire this animal who does this to women and blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, I'm just waiting for the note to appear in my mailbox.
To set it up, again, this school had three
sex scandals.
3 sex scandals
Three
already
sex
with
scandals in
teachers.
the past, yes.
So,
go and read them with Hot Tom, Scott Brower, and Amber Jennings. 3 sex scandals, really juicy ones too. And so this would have been just another. The news was at the school. Fox News was at the school that day, on that Tuesday. And so Tuesday comes around, and I'm like, having my student, I'm just waiting for once one student reads the blog, they all read it, because they're just going to go on social media and whatever. So, of course, the idiot librarian prints out the Buffalo Bruises blog when she finds it and gives it to kids, and now they're all talking about it, and I'm getting threats on my email at school, and the Dudley police have to come into my classroom and kind of be like, you got to come with us. Not that I was in trouble or anything, but they were like protecting me almost, like we're getting so many threats on the school. So we got to come down to the main office, and I met with the superintendent was there, the principal, the union, the cops were there, and we're like, what do we do? Like, we're all kind of in this together. Like, what are we going to do? And they're like, why don't you take some time off? I'm like, sure. I don't want to come to school tomorrow. How am I ever going to face these kids? I go on Twitter, and they're sharing memes of me, like raping things and like terrible things and stuff like that. But it was like the C and D students that were like, yeah, finally, this dude, screw him. Yeah, take that, Carney. But there were good kids on there defending me at the same time, so I don't want to make it seem like all the kids were doing that. So that happened, and I finally took 2 weeks off from Turtleboy. I shut the blog down completely, right? And there was other people, keep in mind, that wrote for me, and they're like, we want it to come back. We can't just kill the blog, right? It can't die. And so I'm like, well, what am I I need my job, right? What am I going to do here? And so I took a little vacation to Chicago, visited my Uncle Pat, who owns a business out there, and I just learned about life in the private sector, which I knew nothing about because I've been working as a teacher for so long. And he's like, look, you have a big following. This can be a business. You just have to figure out how to do that. Just get some local advertisers on there. Figure out ways to monetize this thing. This can be your life. And I'm like, so 2 weeks after that, I come back and I'm like, let's get it started again. I don't want to let these people win. And so I had to make a choice about teaching. What am I going to do with that? And I met with the union, and they're like, they're going to try to push for termination. We don't think they can do it legally, and we will fight it, and we will back you up. We'll get you a really good lawyer, but it's a risk. But here's what they're offering you in the meantime, because they want you to leave. They're offering you a full year's salary, right? And they're not going to contest unemployment, so I got to collect for a little bit. What else did I get out of it? I got letters of recommendation from them, in case I wanted to get a new teaching job, whatever. They were basically in a situation where they did such a bad job at damage control that they screwed themselves. And they're like, what can we do? We can't have him teaching here, but if we try to fire him, then he can sue us, and then we're going to be even more screwed. And so they're like, why don't we just bribe him, essentially, to go away quietly? And I am like, you know what? This is a head start on my business. Why not? Just take that, lump sum payment and just invest it into the blog and turn it into a business.
And this is your big crossroad in life, which is go teaching and be in front of kids that believe everything on the internet,
Yep.
or go and start Turtleboy full time.
Right, and the beauty of I love teaching, don't get me wrong, I had a real passion for it. But the kids I'm teaching are captive. They have to be there. They don't have a choice. And some kids just don't like history, no matter how hard I try to make it interesting and relate it to them. They just don't like it. What are you going to do? And it just kind of sucks when you're talking about World War II or something up there, and you're up there, and you're looking at kids, and they're just going like this. Doing that. It's like you find this, you're on your cell phones tweeting nonsense to each other, but you don't find like World War II exciting. What's wrong with you? And so, but the beauty of Turtleboy is everybody who reads the blog is doing so of their own volition, and they want to read it.
Yeah, that's what drives me kind of crazy on Facebook. I get it, as you know, I run New Bedford Guide. I have a bunch of groups out there, and I get messages saying, you need to take this stuff down, you need to ban this one guy, and I'm like, Facebook has a block button. Just block what you don't want to see, right?
How about that?
You literally have it, and I have a joke, and I say to a lot of people is, don't look into the sun for 30 minutes and blame the sun for your blindness. Like,
So
you
true.
looked into the sun.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it.
It's amazing, isn't it?
If you don't want to see something on social media, unlike a page, block people who make hateful things. But
It's so easy. I don't understand why people.
so we'll move on. So I'm not going to go over chapter 6. It's the bone ride chapter, which is kind of fun. We have one question here. Someone
6 and
wants to know-
7 kind of like explain what the types of blogs we do.
Someone, we got Nicholas asking, is that the Sean Spicer signature I see?
Oh yeah, it is spicy. Oh yeah, there he is right
Yeah, why
there.
don't you turn it to the, it's going to be hard to kind of see,
I don't know.
but yeah, he's got the signature on the,
It says Turtleboy, best wishes.
so you met Sean Spicer?
Yeah, I met Sean Spicer
Who is
last
that?
week. He was Trump's official liar in chief.
Yeah.
He's the guy that there's one thing Sean Spicer's famous for is saying that Trump had a bigger inauguration crowd size than Obama, which is obviously untrue. And he was just kind of awkward, and Sarah Sanders.
Great for
replaced
Saturday
him.
Night Live there, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was the ultimate person to satirize.
Yeah, he was, Saturday Night Live was like big with him, so he
Yeah.
did big. So we'll go to chapter 7, Social Justice Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this quote on there, and they tell me about it. So these people are the biggest threat to free speech and democracy that exists today.
They are. And that's kind of the basis of the book, right, is that without a public square where competing ideas can be exchanged freely, then we do not have a democracy. That is the fundamental core of who we are as Americans.
And you're a history teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was
So-
why they created the First Amendment, because they're like, we need to protect controversial speech. It's the most important type of speech to protect because we need to challenge ourselves. We need to take, the Founding Fathers were revolutionaries. If they existed today, they would be the ones, like, what they were talking about was insane. Creating a democracy where everyone gets to vote, and where, there's representation and all this stuff. Like, what? That's crazy for back then. But they're like, no, we need this. We need to be able to criticize each other, right? Like the Sedition Act, which the book hits on a lot, was signed by John Adams, and it was the biggest disaster in American history as far as a law goes because it banned the press from criticizing public officials, and it was overturned, of course. But it was like the first challenge to the First Amendment. Like, you need to be able to criticize those in power, and you need to be able to do it viciously if necessary, because without that you can't hear new perspectives, and then you can't learn things, and then you can't vote based on an educated experience, and you don't have a real democracy.
So you got them turned on you from the, this is when the Ferguson thing, I think, was happening.
Yes.
And Black Lives Matter and the
Yep.
Worcester Police Department were kind of having
Yep.
that thing. And then you blogged about the 2015 protests at the Kelly Square.
Yes, okay, so there was a lot of this going around in the country, but Worcester's a localized blog, so I want to talk about local stuff, and there's always the same 10 people, right? We call them the prize patrol, and we call them actually what do we call them? They called themselves the Coming Together Collective, which sounds terrible. Coming together, never start two word, your organization with that. And so it's like the same 10 people, always complaining, always protesting, everything's racist, blah, blah, blah. But these people control city policy. They have like influence. They're on boards and committees, right? They go to city council meetings. They're heard, right? And it's like, no, everything they're saying is stupid. And somebody needs to call them out on this garbage and this nonsense. And then one day they called the Worcester police racist, which was like insane, because the Worcester police are some of like the easiest people to get along with in the world, and we've never killed any black people in Worcester. The cops haven't. Like, what are you talking about? And so this is in Ferguson. And then they blockade Kelly Square one day, which is like the biggest. You ever been to Kelly Square?
Yeah, and then like in the book you said about the guys get out of the car, right?
Yes, they like literally. It was so Worcester. All these social justice warriors chain themselves together and create a human link, and they block like all these trucks from getting by for 4 minutes, and they're singing their stupid songs, and it's like they're like quote unquote raising awareness of this. Yeah, dude, we all know about Michael Brown. We watch the news, but I gotta get my kids to soccer
And
practice.
ambulances have to get to the hospital.
Yeah, and like you don't have a right to do this. Like, would it be okay if somebody did that for abortion? Like, would they be okay if somebody was like, we're going to protest abortion, right? And we're going to blockade Kelly Square because to represent babies being killed in the womb, right? So we're going to do that. Would they be okay with that? Of course they wouldn't be okay. They're only doing it because their cause, they think in their deluded minds, is so superior to everyone else's that this is justified.
And you keyed put together a term which is based off of Eisenhower's thing of the military-industrial complex.
Yes.
You call it the racism industrial complex.
Yes, that's correct, and it's very, very real today. Without racism, millions of people would lose their jobs. These people need racism, which is very ironic because they claim to fight racism, but without racism existing, what would they fight? All these people that put on diversity trainings and generally, like, how would Reverend Jackson, Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton, what would they do for a living if racism didn't exist? They'd have to get real jobs.
Sure.
Imagine that. And so all these people would ultimately, like politicians too, a lot of politicians get elected by race baiting. People like Elizabeth Warren, people like Ayanna Pressley and stuff like that. Like, they've gotten to where they are, ironically. They claim they're oppressed, but without racism and oppression, they wouldn't be anywhere. And so,
Yeah, and nonprofits seem to make a lot of money on that.
Oh, what a scam. We got to start a nonprofit. That's what I realized quickly, because they're always going to the same place, this place, Mosaic Cultural Complex. And we're like, why are they organizing at this place? And so we looked into mosaics, and I didn't know how to do this, and I got a bunch of people that work for me, and one's an accountant. And he does a write-up on them, and he finds out their financials and that they have been paying their annual fees, and he starts telling me that we can find checks, okay, because the city of Worcester is writing them so many checks every couple weeks for thousands of dollars. Where's this money going towards? We can actually get a breakdown of it. And so we file a Freedom of Information Act, which I'd never done before, and we get all this information on them, and we see who is getting paid. And it's all these protesters. They're all getting paid by the government to hold these stupid protests and keep us from going where we're going. And those blogs resonated with people, man, because it was like people were so upset because not only are you inconveniencing me, but on top of that, you're stealing my money, and you're a liar. And we named names, we shamed, we put these people's faces up where they're like, it was Robert Blackwell Gibbs, Sonia Connor, Julius Jones. We called out these frauds, and people, they hated it, but everybody else liked it because it's like, yes, this is what I'm thinking. This is why this blog needs to exist.
Yeah, so Chapter 8 is Turtleboy Investigates.
Yep.
So a couple of the big ones are Mosaics, Spencer East Brookfield School District.
Yep.
Let's talk this one, Laughlin Kennel.
Oh, Laughlin Kennel, yeah, so that's a sad one because, so we do, those,
And this is what your primary role is, I think, is probably
yes,
investigative.
the investigative stuff, those are my blogs. I fully admit that I did the Spencer East Brookfield series, I did the Laughlin Kennel series, because that's what I like to do. I love investigating stuff, and I love getting to the bottom of stuff. And the Laughlin Kennel one was, a lot of people were complaining that they were buying dogs from this kennel in Oxford that was getting dogs from breeders in Kansas, shady people that were not licensed, and the dogs were dying and getting sick, and they weren't getting refunds on them, and they had to go to like the Laughlin vet, which was like some shady dude, and he always said nothing was wrong. It was really messed up. All these dogs were dying, and all these protesters are out there protesting them, and so I go down there and I cover it, and I take some video, and you can hear the dogs yelping. It's very sad to hear these dogs yelping and crying away, and it kind of brought it to life because now people can see it. And although I don't want to take credit for taking down Laughlin, because those protesters, don't mess with dog people, man. They're like the last people in the world that you can mess with. They are vicious, and they will get you. Cat people won't. Dog people will. If you kill dogs, you're screwed. And so these people would not stop protesting there and drawing awareness to this. And eventually, the town of Oxford took away their ability to sell dogs. I don't know whatever they did.
Took a couple of years though to get them shut down.
But it worked eventually, and we threw them in the Turtleboy graveyard.
All right, so there's a lot of stories from moms of the South Shore to the Mass State Police scandal,
Yep.
but you're going to have to read Chapter 8.
Yeah.
So let's do the last chapter, Chapter 9.
Yep.
Which is big because, I deal with that in New Bedford Guide as well, which is Turtleboy versus the media.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So our local newspaper refuses to give, anytime New Bedford Guide does anything, they won't mention New Bedford Guide. They'll say local
Really?
blog, local Facebook.
Local blog.
Those kind of things, or they'll put my name, Mike
Yeah.
Celia. They won't actually put like New Bedford Guide, or they'll mention it
So
sometimes.
they don't consider you like the New Bedford equivalent of the Herald News?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So you don't really get a lot of credit in there, but you've had the opposite side, which is actually take stories from you and don't credit you.
Oh,
right?
yeah, it's classic. It happens all the time.
So let's see here. So
Sam Allen from the Telegram was
Yeah.
the Turtlegram was the first one to really do that, and she wasn't hiding it either. We did a blog on the best cut-through streets in Worcester,
Yep.
which is once again a relatable topic everybody wants to know about. And she showed up in the comments, and I'm not even lying. She shows up in the comments and she says, "Hey guys, I'm Sam Allen from the Telegram, and I would like to know if you would like to give me your ideas for best cut-through streets because I'm doing a story on this." Everyone was like, you kidding me? Like, what, is this a joke? Are we being trolled here? But no, she was being serious. And then she really went on to do one, and she picked a lot of the same streets. And it's like, this is a joke. And then a few months later, we found a road race cheater at the Worcester Firefighters 6K, and we put a lot of research into that and found out split times and talked to witnesses, and we found out this woman accepted this prize, but she missed the whole mile of the race. And they ended up taking her medal away and giving it to someone else. And then the Turtlegram, Sam Allen, again, does a story on it and passes it off as her own and doesn't cite us. It's happened a lot.
Yeah, that story to all of them that got me kind of interested was the Diane Williamson.
Oh, classic.
So she's
Yes.
a writer, right? And then she ended up, so she was one, and I see
Pinot
this a lot.
Crazy
People who
Ho,
mock, they're big and they beat on Trump, who
Yep.
deserves a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
The punches in the face he
Yeah,
gets,
he's
right?
easy target.
But then she went on and took a photo, right?
Oh, yeah. So these people, they love to act like Trump offends them. Trump doesn't really offend them. Trump is just doing the same thing that they've been doing. He's stealing their bit, right? These people act so uncivilly all this time. And now a right-wing version of that comes along because Mitt Romney is not here anymore for you to kick around. So you got this guy who is doing the same thing you're doing, punching you back, and they clutch their pearls and they whine about civility and all this nonsense. And meanwhile, Diane Williamson, she posts a picture of the guy who came to fix her tire, and his butt crack showing. He's a bigger guy. And she posts it, and all these people talking about love Trump's hater on there mocking this guy and laughing at him. And I'm like, I was friends with Dan. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you people doing something like this?
So she's one of those hidden kind of like people that secretly loved Turtle Boy at one time.
No, she loved, yeah. Diane was a huge Turtle.
That's why you did a story on it.
Yeah, well, after that was the time. Now, the reason that she liked it is because she's a cool liberal. There's cool liberals out there, people who like to, people that are liberal for the right reasons because they like, sex and fun and vulgarity. Those are my kind of liberals, right? I don't like the ones that are like, you can't say that liberals. I don't like those ones. And so she secretly liked it, and she would tried to cite us once about the Mosaic. We took down that nonprofit. And her editor, and she's messaging me. She's like, I'm getting called into the editor's office because I tried to cite your story in here. And now I'm getting reamed, and I'm told we can't do it because you're not a legitimate source. And she's like, I'm so sorry about this, and blah, blah, blah. And then, she trusted me at the time, but then she turned on me, so screw her. And so obviously I'm going to show all of those. And I showed that, she was secretly working with me to expose her bosses, right? But it was really opened a window because you saw the inside of how a newspaper like the Turtlegram works, how they're actively going out of their way and conspiring to lie about their sources, about where they got a story from, and making things up as they go along to delegitimize the blog. They claim that you can't cite the blog, but they sure write about us a lot.
Yeah, I think the real journalists I see, which is always funny, they're like, sources say, or sources in the know.
Yeah.
They don't actually give a source, they just
Yeah.
say source in the know. It drives me absolute
Real journalism's a joke. I mean, look at CNN.
But so they mocked all this, but you guys actually set up a GoFundMe and took care of the guy.
Yeah, we took care of the guy.
On
We
a
sent his kids to
vacation
Disney World because the mother was the reason the girls lived with him was because the mother was a junkie, and the girl. It's hard being a single dad raising two girls on your own. You don't have a mother around, and so this guy needs a vacation. So Turtle Riders, it wasn't my idea. A bunch of Turtle Riders came up with the GoFundMe. I just shared it, and we raised I think $1,500 for this guy. Sent him on a nice vacation, and I mean that's what we're doing. While people are complaining about us, we're making a difference. While all these people sit there and they virtue signal and they do nothing. They don't better the world in any way whatsoever.
All right, so that was the first 9 chapters. I got a few questions in closing.
shoot.
So are there any blogs that you regret posting?
Yeah, and I kind of talk about that.
I haven't got to those chapters yet.
Yeah, I haven't got to those chapters. Read the book. There's a couple that I've taken down, not that I wrote, that other bloggers have published. And that's the thing, when you employ a lot of bloggers, sometimes they screw up. And you're like, that doesn't fit the brand. I have to take it down. And there's been a couple of those where I'm like, I'm not proud of this. This isn't what I stand for. I don't want this on the site. And I've taken it down.
So you learn from it, meaning you should probably get a little more editor control in the beginning, maybe, or
yeah, so there's a process. Like I have to read your blogs, or Bristol does that now. We have to read your blogs, and if it's good, then we'll hit the publish button, right? And after a while, I learned to trust you. Like South Shore Turtle Girl can print blogs all day long. I don't care. But yeah. Eventually, sometimes like you'll see something that doesn't really fit, and you're like, it gets a lot of blowback, and it hurts the brand, and you're like, yeah, I can't have this, and you gotta take it down.
And so how do you get most of the stories? Usually someone just sends it to the inbox?
Yeah, like a lot of emails, a lot of inbox stuff. Sometimes just browsing on Facebook, and you get tagged and stuff a lot. People let us know.
So I think the most popular thing of Turtleboy is the titles.
The titles,
So
yeah.
Who comes up with all these, like
who
Gutter
knows?
Muppet and...
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it them or you?
Them.
Is it the writers that do it
The
themselves?
writers come up with themselves, and I don't know where they come up with this stuff. It's beautiful, though. Grundle Queefs, I mean, I don't know where they come up with this stuff. It's really just combining funny words together and just throwing it, and does it work? Is it alliterative? That's usually like, with the Gardner Grundle Queef. It's like, that kind of works well. But yeah, people do like that. And they're not even real words. So like, how can you even say that that's like offensive or a swear when that's not even an existing word in the English language?
So so what's going on weekly with you? You do the podcasts.
Yes.
When do those happen?
I tried to do them every day, but I got lazy with them after a while because I was extremely busy. This book actually took a lot of my time. But are you asking like what's my day to day?
Yeah, what's a normal week for you to get out? So you're on the radio on
Tuesdays,
at what time?
8 to 9.
What's the radio station?
100.1 FM, The Pike.
So Tuesdays 8 to 9.
Yep.
If they want to listen to you, and
Yep.
then obviously you do the podcast. It's not consistent, but it's mostly on the weekends, right? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to do it during the weekdays. Yeah, the Turtleboy live show, which will happen tonight, is usually Saturday or Sunday, depending on if there's a game that day.
You have to rotate where to find it, right? Because of the way
Yep.
the Facebook offers.
Yeah, well, what we do now is we do it from the personal pages, like Clarence Woods Emerson or Philip V. Prentice, whoever isn't suspended, because they come up, because the algorithms, personal pages come up on your feed.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's where we do that. But my day-to-day is organizing all the blogs. Like, so we have a big board, a big Google spreadsheet, and my job is to input the information into that, organize it, have bloggers bid on who's going to do what, like who's going to write what blog today, and make sure they're getting done, nag people to get it done, and print them. I want to publish 6 or 7 blogs a day. That's the goal.
But the big thing for you is, so people need to go to the website or you actually have an app.
Yes, we do have an app. You can find it for now. We'll see. It's in the Apple Store. Don't tell Tim Cook. It's also on Google Play, and you can go on there.
I think, listen to your podcast, that's what you tell people. Just go there. Don't rely on
so much
social media
better,
to
man.
push the information.
We have to stop. Like, we have to stop allowing Facebook to be the portal that directs us to information. Like, if you do that, you're not free. Facebook owns you.
Yeah.
You are dependent on what Mark Zuckerberg gives you for information. Don't let him do that. Before Facebook came around, people used to go to actual websites every day. And and the good part about Facebook coming down, the silver lining, is that the amount of people who come to our site every day has doubled. Just straight to it has doubled. Because I don't need Facebook. I want the comment section on Turtleboy to turn into what Facebook has. Like, ultimately, I'd like to leave Facebook. That's the goal.
All right, so anything you want to say in closing?
Yeah, any more questions right then, or?
Why don't you do yours, and we'll go see what you got here from people. I haven't had a chance to look at all those. Mostly comments.
You want like a manifesto right now, or?
What do you want to say in closing? And we'll do this again if people enjoyed this after the next.
Yeah, I mean, buy the book. I swear to God, obviously I'm biased because I wrote the book, but I promise you will enjoy it because it's very informative, and it's not just the story of Turtleboy. It's the story of free speech and how it's under attack in this country, and it's just how we've been affected by this, and no one's been affected by it more than us, and it's just a really interesting story, particularly because of my past as a teacher, and how it's kind of evolved into what it is today. I never thought I'd be doing this 5 years ago. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of it is there's so much information out there, whether it's misinformation or real information out there. And the book, I think it's from your side of the story and what's out there.
That's a good point.
But there's so many things that people have put out there because whether they hate you or love you.
Diddles kids, fired for touching a girl, all this nonsense.
Everything's out there, but I think you got to read the book and get his side of the story. That's why we had him on here. I'll probably get a lot of crap for having you on here, but this is what freedom of speech is about, right?
Freedom of speech, man, platform.
Yeah,
you're not even agreeing or disagreeing with anything. You're just asking questions, and that's okay to have these type of discussions.
That's what I like to live by is I'll ask questions, you give your side of the story. I know politicians all the time, they say, I love this. You're not rewriting what I'm saying, I put it in a newspaper.
You had Jay Seal on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got crap the first time I had Jay Seal on.
And that's a good thing, because he should have a forum to say what he wants to say, right? And we should have a forum to be like, dude, what's up with that Tinder? You know? So,
And then I try to get the unfiltered information out there through these videos. Obviously, writing is important as well because some things take months to come to fruition when you come with a blog? Like, I think you were the bigger guy to break the Mass State Police scandal.
The guy, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, the biggest one at everyone, right? So you actually did it, and then people jumped on it, didn't really give you credit.
No, they believe that was one, like the Washington Post, the Boston Globe, they've all linked us. The only one that doesn't is the Turtlegram, the local city, but screw them, we've outgrown them.
I'll actually end with this. So Kirk and Callahan, I think Minahan is kind of what your situation is, right? So
Minahan's my boy.
So I can't believe that. I mean, that the ratings are going to get cut like by 2/3 without him on there. They pushed him to radio.com.
Yeah.
And it's because of the Boston Globe and the Red Sox and all that stuff like that. It's crazy how you really can't say. There was a study, I don't know if you read it, and it said like 80% of the people out there are sick of political correctness.
Yeah.
Whether it's millennials or whatever.
Black, white, it was equal along racial
lines.
Indians
Native American Indians were like 90%.
Yeah, they were the most, yeah.
Right? So when everyone's like, get rid of the Redskins, they're like, no. You look at the numbers on it, it's like 90% of Native Americans. They were the highest ones that were sick of it.
That's one thing we should all unite on. Even though that vocal minority is winning in many ways.
They're the loudest.
I mean, that's Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey are part of that 10% that think political correctness is a good thing, and they control the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, if they get 100 phone calls, I think suddenly the whole world's angry at them, so they shut things down.
Yes, they're cowards. They're gutless cowards. That's what they are.
All right, well, we'll probably have you on again. I'll have to read the rest of the book and bring you back on.
Yeah, I think you'll like it. You made some good chapters in there about the death threats. That's my favorite chapter.
So you get it on Kindle, get it on Amazon. Sorry, it doesn't show up so well. It shows up as is other white on there, but the link's in there. Grab it, and we'll post the link to the sweatshirt that you got on there if you want to get that as well. So small media like we are, support other, and just have honest conversations. That's really the end of the day what it's about.
Yeah, I like this.
And there's so much misinformation on the web, and this is where we get your story out and either cut through the lies or the misinformation. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you giving me a platform.
Yeah. All right.
Hey.
See you guys.
Peace.